Okay, I gotta pop in here for a minute and say that if you really want to see all the ratios and information on this, I have a whole second channel that is how-to, where I go into detail and I talk through the whole process of what I'm doing here, what I'm thinking, and what are all the recipes in this. So I'll leave a link to the second channel down below. And all of the videos that appear on this channel, I do have a second version that I have on the other channel, which is the how-to channel. So if you want to see that, I'll leave a link to that down below. Wood by Wright how-to. So let's get back to the wax.
Melody, can you go get me a big piece of paper so we can trace your foot, please?
$15 ounces. $10, 3 ounces more. £1. 2.1. So, about half of this. First, let's take a look at the soft wax. And for the soft wax, this is what has the thinner in it, and this is what I use to help finish woods. So after I put my finish on here, you can see on my coat, my boiled linseed oil, I'm going to get a little bit of wax on a steel wool pad that I just keep inside here, and we're going to spread this wax on really nice and thick, rub it around, let it fill in all the pores. And really the reason for the wax is to fill in those pores and level out the surface, get a nice clean shine. After we get it worked in here, then we're just going to make sure it's all worked in. I'm going to let this sit for long enough until it's getting dry to the touch. Right now it's kind of wet. I'm going to let it dry to the touch, and then we'll come back and polish it off. So after letting it dry to the touch, it's no longer tacky. We can come back in with a rag, and now we can wipe off any of the excess and polish it down in. And this, all of the thinner has come out of it, and we're getting all of the excess off, and we're actually buffing and polishing it down into the surface so that we get a nice shiny glint on it. And this was what will actually polish out all of the finish. And I'll go with the grain, I'll go across the grain, and I'll swirl it down in, and this is what gives you that really nice polished finish. You're not going to get a gloss with it, but you're going to get this beautiful sheen that looks interesting from different angles. And so you can see how the color kind of catches the light in different ways. So my soft wax is what I will go on top of most all of my finishes, whether it's a poly or some other film finish. I put this on top of it. It seals the pores in and helps fill in any small imperfections and really gives you that nice sheen so you can get that glow you're really looking for in the wood. So on top of most of my film finishes or my boiled linseed oil finishes, I put this paste wax on, and so that's what I like to use. So my hard wax, this I like to keep in the lid, and normally after I'm going to use it for a while, I'm going to get rid of the paper and just leave it in there for shipping. And this will keep the dust and junk off of it so that it's more protected. It makes it easier to grab and use. You see this one I've been using a bit already. And so I'm going to use this, and I'm just going to go on the plane, and just like that, I have this really nice clean layer of wax. This makes the plane move incredibly smoothly across the wood. If you're working with any dense wood where it's grabbing or catching, it is incredible what this will do. Now I used to use the rag in the can and oil and things like that, but I find that this wax lasts a lot longer. It has the lubrication of the oil, but the long lasting of the wax. It is just my favorite all around. People then ask, is this wax going to cause problems with finish on wood? Absolutely not. After the first stroke or two, the visible wax is gone, but you still get the lubrication of it. And it really doesn't affect the finish at all. I've never had any problem with it. Even on my smoothing plane with the very last pass before finishing, that doesn't affect it at all. The other place where I use this quite a bit is for rust prevention. And I'll rub it on the surfaces, put a bit on there, come in with a rag, and just kind of polish it down into the steel. And that puts a layer of wax and oil on there that will protect this from any rust. And I do that quite a bit, especially if I'm going to be traveling or if it's going to be in a wood box. Putting a little bit of hard wax on there will protect it in the long term. The other place where I use it all the time is waxing saws. If you've ever been working with a saw and it's binding in the cut and it's just getting harder and harder to push, just take a couple strokes of this and wipe it down either side of the plate. And it is amazing how fast this suddenly cuts. It just slides through the work. And it makes the saw work far easier. It's less you're pushing into it and more you're letting the saw do the work. So putting a little bit of wax on the saw helps it move faster, as well as rust prevention and protecting the saw from any rust. And that's what I do for most of my plates to keep the rust off of the plate. So this is the block of hard wax that I've been using for almost 3 years, and you can see how much of it I've used in about 3 years. So a block this size is going to last quite a while. It's not something you need to do all the time and constantly. It actually goes through it pretty quickly. This one I left out on the bench, and you can see how the top surface has dried out a good bit. You can still see the oily wax here in the middle. So that's why I now keep these in a can upside down. It keeps the dust off as well as keeps it from drying out too quickly. And I can just leave this on my bench and keep it protected inside the canister. So a good hard wax does amazing things in the shop, not just for lubrication, but also for rust prevention. So there you go. I wanted to show how I go about making paste wax. I do sell this on my website, and thank you for those who buy it, but I do want to encourage you, go out and try it yourself, and maybe you'll find a mixture that works well for you, and that's why I'm giving you all the recipes to exactly what's in these cans. It's one of these things that I'd rather show people how they can do it themselves, but if you do want to support the channel, then I am selling these as well. So thank you to everyone supporting the channel that way. I do want to encourage you, go out, mix your own. As long as you're mixing wax and oil together, you're getting a paste wax. Find a ratio you like, find a wax that you like, find an oil you like. You can mix it with just about any wax and just about any oil. You'll get something that you like. And a lot of people like something very specific to them that is very different from what anyone else makes. So have a little bit of fun, experiment, try something new. There really isn't a right way to make wax unless you get the wood by Wright wax. So I do want to say thank you to everyone who is helping support the channel with purchasing things on the website. There's links to that down below. As well as I want to say thank you to all the patrons on Patreon, members here on the channel. If you want to find out more about that, there's links to Patreon, or you can click the join button down below. And that does help out the channel. Without everyone supporting the channel that way, this wouldn't exist. So I think that'll about do it for now. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Wax. It really helps you get out of sticky situations.